everybody. How's everybody doing? Good? Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today for this session, Clio Manage Advanced, Upleveling Your Skills. Before we get started, I'd like to take a quick moment to thank our visionary sponsors for their continued support. My name is Sydney. I am a customer onboarding team lead at Clio. I've been with Clio for 2 years, and this is my second year both attending and speaking at ClioCon. So it's really nice to be back here in Nashville, seeing all of you again this year. Our team is the customer onboarding team, and we're responsible for helping all of our new customers learn how to use Clio. I've personally spent hundreds of hours with customers, helping them figure out their workflows, figure out how to maximize efficiencies, and overall how to make their Clio work for them. When we think about up-leveling your skills, what does that actually mean? And what does it mean to be a more Clio Manage Advanced user? Being a more advanced user, of course, is going to look different for each individual based on your individual goals. However, a common misconception that I often hear is that advanced users have very complicated workflows. And while this might be true sometimes, I've actually found it's not always the case. In my experience, advanced users do something a little bit differently. They take the time to understand how different features in Clio work together, and then they take the time, and yes, it does take some time, but they take the time to really set up and organize their Clio to maximize efficiencies and streamline their workflows. This then gives them back some time to do the things that matter to them most, which might even look like working by the lake. Today, that's my goal for you. I want to give you some advanced user tips and tricks on how you can work a little bit smarter and not so hard. We're going to look at how you can save time with Matter templates, make sure you never miss a deadline with task lists, how to keep track of your cases with Matter stages, and I'm going to be sharing some of my favorite advanced user tips and tricks along the way, so make sure you stay tuned for those. Let's jump right in and look at Matter templates. Matter templates are exactly what they sound like in Clio. They're a templated version of a Matter. There's lots of things within your Matter template, as you can see, that you can pre-select, such as the practice area, responsible attorney, the billing preferences, you can select your custom fields, and so on. The goal here is to save you time and help reduce that repetitive manual entry when you are opening up new cases and matters. My first tip is to think about how you want to organize your templates. So you want to think about how you're going to name your Matter templates and what's going to bring you and or your team the most value, what's going to save you the most time. You might decide to set them up simply by practice area. This might work for your firm, and that definitely is something you can do. However, if you already know that's going to be a little bit too high level, then maybe you want to set up your templates to be a little bit more specific to your case type. Another idea I can offer, if this is applicable to your team, maybe you have 2 attorneys with the same practice area at your firm, and each of them wants to have their own Matter template. So your Matter templates might be named something like this. The benefit of this is that each attorney could already set themselves as the responsible attorney, one less thing you have to do manually, and they could each select their own preferred custom fields because maybe they're a little bit different between each attorney. Speaking of custom fields, you can add both individual custom fields and field sets to your Matter template. Field sets are groupings of individual custom fields, and they're actually one of my favorite ways that you can keep your Clio organized. So if you haven't already set up your custom field sets or you feel like they're not really working for you, after ClioCon, I highly recommend you go and take a look and give them a little sprucing up. I want to dive a little bit deeper into field sets because I actually think that they're going to bring you and your firm a lot of value if set up the right way. There's lots of different ways that you can group your custom field sets, and I always say this is one of the features that you can get very creative with. The sky is kind of the limit. You might decide to group your field sets by case type and just have one field set for all your custom fields for that case type. Maybe you want to think of them by phase of a case. So different stages of your cases have different field sets that fit in. What I want to offer you, and we're thinking about being an advanced user, we're thinking about how different features work together. So when you look at your custom field sets, a strategic approach is to think about how they're going to fit into your Matter template. So again, we want to think about how we're going to name our Matter templates and then look at our field sets to make sure they fit nice and neatly into our Matter template. This is going to be a very strategic approach, a very advanced user way of approaching these two features. And you know that when you then go to open up that matter, you are only going to see the custom fields that you want for that specific type of matter, and they're already going to be organized really nice and neatly into those field sets that make sense. Down the road, this makes it very easy to find the information that you need and record the information that you need. My advanced user tip for you for matter templates is a seemingly simple one, but it is very mighty, and that is to plan it out. Yes, I know that planning it out takes a little bit of time, but trust me, you're going to gain that time back times more down the long run. So for matter templates, you want to first plan out how you're going to name your matter templates. Again, what's going to bring you and your team the most value. Next up, I want you to take a look at your custom field sets and make sure they are grouped and named in a way that's going to fit nice and neatly into your matter templates. This then allows you to save time, and you know that when you're creating those matters, everything's already going to be organized, so less work for you down the road. Next up, we're going to take a look at task lists. How many of you know the feeling of you sit down at your desk and you're like, what should I be working on today? Or what's the top priority? I'm definitely putting my hand up, and yes, thank you. Even if you're not right now, I'm sure you felt this way in the past. You're not alone. We all have so many competing priorities. And if we don't have something in place that helps us keep track of those, naturally things are going to fall through the cracks. This is where task lists can help in Clio. And I'm kind of curious, who's already using task lists? Ooh, I love this. Okay, great. So this might be a little refresher for you, but there might be some tips and tricks that you could implement. So for those of you who are not using task lists, a task list is simply a list of templated individual tasks that you can then assign as a list over and over again. They're designed to save you time so that you don't have to create all of those individual tasks repetitively. Some ideas for you if you haven't set them up yet. You might decide to create new task lists based off of new cases. So anytime you have a new case, I'm sure there are repetitive things that you need to do each time. You can set up a task list for that. Maybe you also have stages of a case that have different tasks related to each of those phases. You can create a task list for that too. And what I like to offer is that you can think outside the box here and get creative. Task lists don't have to be client or matter related. You could create one called weekly office tasks to keep your firm running. Even if you're a solo attorney, I'm sure there are things that you need to do for your firm to keep things running smoothly each week, each quarter, whatever it is. So you can set up a task list to keep track of all of those. Task lists have a few things that you can pre-select within each templated task. So as I said, they're built up of those individual templated tasks. And when you're setting it up, this is what they look like. So as you can see in this video, you can select things like the name, you can add a description for the task, you can choose who the task is already going to be assigned to. So if you have, let's say, a paralegal that always does that type of task, you can always assign it to that paralegal right off the bat. You also can set up reminders for each templated task so that when I go to assign out this list, I already know that I'm going to receive an email reminder one day before that task is going to be due. All these little things are saving you lots of time, and that time adds up. So that's what we're looking for here. When it comes to due dates within your task list, the smartest thing that you can do is set up relative due date. This is where I sometimes see users get a little bit intimidated, so let's break it down and I'll show you how you can set them up. A relative due date within a task list means that one task is due relative to the other. They're sort of dependent on each other. If we take a look at this example task list here, you can see all of my templated individual tasks. And then in that due column, notice that they don't have specific due dates, but all the due dates say that they're due relative to another task on the list. For this task here, my send engagement and fee agreement is going to be due 1 business day after my draft engagement and fee agreement. This means that when I sign out this list, I'm already going to have a 1-day buffer in between those two tasks automatically. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to think about when they're going to be due. My task list does the work for me. All I need to do is pick the trigger date, maybe that's today, and then all my tasks will cascade from that trigger date. To wrap up task lists, my advanced user tip for you, if you are setting them up, and even if you've created some, maybe you need to create new ones, is instead of starting from scratch every single time, you can duplicate task lists. This, of course, only works if you have, I'm getting a head nod. Yes, duplicating is a great one. If you have task lists that are similar, maybe again for new cases, rather than creating 2 new case task lists and having them with different practice areas, create one, duplicate it, and then you can edit that second list to fit that second practice area or whatever the case may be. It might seem like a small thing of like, oh, I might as well just start from scratch, but really these things save you time. And as we know, time is super valuable. So I want to make sure you have enough of that back. Last topic, we're going to look at matter stages. Matter stages allow you to track the progress of a case or all of your cases in a Kanban style board like you see here. You can completely customize the stages to fit your specific workflows. Matter stages are organized by practice area. When you select a new practice area from the dropdown, you will then have new stages that fit into those practice areas. I'm going to show you what this looks like in a moment, but before we do that, we're going to take that step back, and to really maximize your use of this feature, you're going to want to look at your practice areas. So my advanced user tip is to edit your practice areas. What I sometimes see people do is leave their practice areas a little bit too high level. And I will say that might work for you. So if it is set up that way and it works, you don't need to change it. However, if you already know that's not going to bring you the most value with matter stages, you might want to change it so that you're breaking apart, let's say, your one practice area into case types that maybe look something like this. Whatever you decide to do, I recommend that you find a middle ground between too high level and then also too granular, where you have a little bit too many practice areas to work with. Find that nice middle ground that will help you and your team with your matter stages. So now that you've set up your practice areas, in your main matters tab, this is where you can create those stages. So as you see here, when I select a new practice area from the dropdown, I'm very easily able to create new stages. And those stages can be dragged and dropped to reorder them. And then from here, I can easily drag and drop the matter cards into the correct stage. As you see, you can probably notice this is a really nice, easy way to look at all of your matters at a glance and see where they are within the life of their case. The way I just showed you is one way to move stages from that main matters tab with your cards. My advanced user tip is you can also change the stages from your matter dashboard. So in this picture, I'm looking at a specific matter, and that first tab in your matter is the dashboard. And you have a matter stages section where you can easily select from the dropdown a new matter stage. So while you're working on the matter, maybe you've completed a task, you know the stage has changed, you can change it from here rather than going into your main matters tab and changing it there. A couple different ways that you can use this feature. Okay, that's the end of our content. We're going to do a quick recap though, and then we'll wrap up for today. We first looked at matter templates, and my tip was to plan it out. Common theme throughout. So if you take something away, I know it seems like a simple one, but trust me, it's very effective. Think about how you are going to want to name your matter templates, what's going to bring you and your team the most value, and then go look at your custom field sets and make sure that they are organized into sets that fit nice and neatly into those templates. Next, we looked at task lists, and there are a few things or many things that you can pre-select within each of those templated tasks. I also recommended that you set up relative due dates so that your due dates cascade from each other and you don't need to always think about when everything's going to be due. Clio's going to do the work for you. And my advanced user tip was to duplicate your task lists instead of starting from scratch. Find those little time savers to work a little bit smarter. And lastly, we just looked at matter stages, which allow you to track the progress of your stage of your matters in a Kanban style board. They are organized by practice area. So to maximize your use of this feature, you will want to look at your practice areas in your settings and make sure that they are organized and set up to help you maximize your use of matter stages. And my advanced user tip was to change the matter stage, not just from that main matters tab, but also from your matter dashboard as you're completing items. That is it for today. Thank you so much for attending this session with me on Clio Manage Advanced Upleveling Your Skills. If you want to learn more, there is an advanced user workshop that you can attend later this afternoon, so check out your agenda for that. And I'm also going to be at the Customer Success Center. I'm more than happy to chat with you after. And of course, we have our product labs. Again, I'm Sydney. Thank you so much for joining.